So yes, I rode my bike down to the ocean, and like Lima, it's like these cliffs go down to the ocean, so you can overlook these waves. And I was looking at the waves, and it was the most amazing surf waves. It would have been the most amazing surf waves I've ever seen in my life. Lima is going to be an amazing city to live in one of these days. But the problem is it's totally polluted, and you could actually see all the foam. When the waves crash, all the foam was brown, and that's shit. But I did see some kids surfing in there. Um, but yeah, and I saw some people. They were jumping off the cliffs and paragliding off of it down there. And I rode down to the ocean and looked at it, and then rode back up. And I took a taxi up to the top of the hill right next to the central square. They have this like high like hill that you can overlook the whole city, but you can only see a couple of city blocks because of all the garua, the fog. Um, and I did a tour of the Catholic catacombs, and in the basement they have like hundreds and hundreds of, or maybe even thousands. I just saw hundreds of like old saint bones, skulls and bones and stuff that they collect there. And there's another interesting museum I went to, but yeah, the catacombs were pretty. It's just inside, very there's like big intricate church in there, and yeah, so I hung out there, um, and then I didn't ride my bike out of Lima though. I took the bus again down to, what was it, Ica, which is because there were these like sand dunes, and I stayed in Ica, and that was an interesting little town, quaint little town. I saw this Peruvian girl who I was like partying with at a disco there, and so I hung out with her. It was cool. But then I rode my bike, um, like a couple miles outside of Ica to these sand dunes, which are amazing because there's like this lake surrounded by, on both sides by sand dunes. There's like a little oasis, little lake surrounded by like restaurants and stuff, and maybe some hotels. And I hiked up to the top of the sand dune, and I rented these little sandboards, and then I guess they sell you like grease that you put on the sandboard. So you go, and I hiked up to the top of it, and then I put the grease on, and I went down the sand dune really steep, about as steep as sand dunes can get. I'm talking like 30 miles an hour. Like you'd be scared. You'd be like wind passing through you, and I go so fast to the vibration, and then I'd fall off, and because like my feet, I tried to have my feet strapped in as good as I could. I mean, if you could have like good sandboards with your feet totally strapped in, it'd be just like snowboarding. And then I hiked up, and I did that all day long, and I was stoned off my ass because I had a bunch of weed that I bought. Oh yeah, because when I was in Juarez, my Swiss friend, he had a Peruvian friend who actually, he had a couple of Peruvian friends who he introduced me to, but one of them, and they're all into there. One of them was Hindu. Peru is a very, very eclectic place. The most in South America. Very, very civilized. Very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very. I mean, they're really poor, but they know what's going on. They're interested in other stuff. The Indians there. Maybe it's from the Indian culture, the Incas, but there's lots of juice bars, lots of vegetarian restaurants everywhere, like in Huaraz and everywhere else I was. Like one of my Swiss buddies' friends was a Hindu, and we were talking. I was talking to him about aliens, and he was all into that. When I was into Ica, there was this guy on the central square there with all these alien books, like going like aliens here, aliens, aliens, and I was talking to him for a little bit, and it was really cool. And I guess in Ica, maybe he was into that because in Ica, um, that's where they found a bunch of alien skulls, like the big oval-shaped skulls in a cave right outside of there. But yeah, but so I'm sandboarding there, and you can go really fast, and then on the other side of the sand dunes, there was like different sand dunes. It was kind of like one side was really steep and went really far down. The other side, it was kind of not so steep, and they'd have different kind of sand dunes connecting. So I was like sandboarding down, and then I'd like bank off of one and sandboard down. It was kind of like I was snowboarding. It was really fun, and I did that all day long, stoned off my ass. Oh yeah, because I bought a bunch of weed in Juarez, like a whole huge bag of nice weed, and I had so much of it that I made 750 cookies, marijuana cookies, and I was actually sharing it with some of my friends, and I got some people really fucked up. Oh, and when I did the trip with my Swiss friend, that on the climbing that mountain in one day, the 5,000 meter mountain, running up and down in one day, um, I ate like 6 of them or something before, and I remember that morning I was so freaking high. I like didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was going on. He was talking with his like Peruvian friend, and I had no idea what they were saying. We looked at some cool like Inca ruin or something, and I was just like, where? And I mean, whew, you will get blown out of your mind on marijuana cookies, way more blown than you will on smoking it. And yeah, but I gave some Israeli kid like some, and he didn't feel anything. He said he was like immune to any kind of high, even if he drank alcohol. He never got drunk in his life, even if he drinks a bunch of it. And I remember feeding him 3, and nothing happened. But we fed one of our Peruvian friends who'd come over and hang out with us, even though he didn't stay there. Like 3, and he like totally freaked out. He totally got high, but it was funny. But anyways, yeah. So I had 750 cookies, and so I brought them around with me in my big backpack. And so I was basically got in the habit of eating them. So I was basically, and the whole time I was in, so, from Huaraz and all through Lima, I am totally out of my mind high, because I'm eating the cookies, and the cookies all crumbled, and so it was just like crumbled crumbs, but I would eat it with my hands, and so the whole time, and I was in Lima for 6 days because I was really, really sick with a fever, but I was still high off my ass. So and if you're eating cookies, you are marijuana cookies all day long for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're never sober. You're never sober. And I started to lose my mind. I was in like spirit world. I mean, it was really cool. I was listening to music all the time and just like riding my bike around like trippy, woo. But after a while, I started to lose my shit. And anyways, I was in Ica, but I remember that day I was like totally high, snowboarding or sandboarding down all day long and hiking back up, getting great exercise, and it was really fun. All these different areas, and like there was this one area where the sand went all the way down to this flat area, and it's like I could barely do it, and I failed once, and then I barely did it, and then I got to the sand, and I would hit the bottom and like zoom across the flat part, So like if you could do the whole thing without crashing, I was like, you did good, and so I did that a couple times. It was fun. I never made it all the way down the first side though, but the sand dune I was in, because that would have been like far, but the sand dune I was on actually had like an old dilapidated like lift. They had like a lift, like pulling, that would pull the slide up and down. I hope that thing's working again, because that would be a great little party place, like place where everybody to go and sand dune together. Because I only saw like a couple other people there when I was there, and they were only there for a little bit. But anyways, yeah. So then Ica was like, I don't know if it was called Ica, but that town, maybe Ica, was like 75 miles north of Nazca. And then at that point, I was like, all right, let's bike tour. So I rode from Ica to Nazca, it was 75 miles, and I guess there was a earthquake, because I'm riding up like the night before. I remember, yeah, there was an earthquake, a bunch of people died or something. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting that confused. So anyway, yeah, I ride into Nazca, and Nazca's a pretty town, and I got a hotel there, and it wasn't like a tourist town though. I didn't see many tourists, but I did the tour the next day on the plane. And that was fun on a tiny little plane. That was kind of trippy to fly around on a tiny plane. I mean, that's an experience. And so the guy would go like bank, and then you'd look and bank, and then you'd look, and I took photos of it, and you could see, a little monkey, a little alien, a little this, a little that, and there's tons of them all over the place. But, and then, the little things that would shoot out from the middle, perfectly straight, and I guess you can't see them from to the ground, but you can from the top. So how they get them straight, and there's different reasons. People didn't have different theories and stuff. But a friend said it was I guess from dowsing, going there. But I saw the landing strip in Ica. It's like maybe 30 feet deep, 30 feet wide. How they did it was they would turn the rocks on upside down, so then the non-sunbaked part would be lighter than the rest of it. But I saw, yeah, it was like 30 feet wide, and it went off as far as I could see. I was in a plane, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet. I don't know how many hundreds of feet, 1,000 feet or something, above the ground. And I looked at this landing strip that was like 30 feet wide that went off as far as I could see. I estimated maybe at least 12 miles that I could see this thing go off. And it kept going, and it was perfectly straight. Explain that. How did they know to get it perfectly straight from getting on the ground? Huh? I say aliens. Or something. But anyway, they had these Nazca people. They had they did actually have a pre-Incan civilization there, and we saw they had some really interesting aqueducts, really well made with rocks and stuff. And at the airport too, like they had actually a Peruvian mummy inside of a little dried up mummy that they found inside of a glass thing. Kind of interesting. And then yeah, so then I left Nazca to go to Cusco, and I should have. Oops, this is the end of the video.